Welcome everybody.
Hi.
That sounded very like Saturday Night Live, the two women that do the radio show.
Okay, well, hello.
Yeah, almost like ASMR-y. That was kind of weird.
Is that what we're doing, friends?
No, we're not doing ASMR. That would be weird.
No, we're not doing that. It's not what's happening.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the Love is Being Stupid Together show.
Yeah. I guess we call it a show.
Yeah. Week 3.
Yeah. On that note, there is this lovely artwork down here.
Yes. So, first, I want to give props to the artist.
Who's here with us right now?
She's watching. My dearest, bestest friend, Karen, made this for us. So these are actually like giant wooden panels that were up on our walls in our townhouse, and now they're like sitting on a ledge in our basement in this house. They're huge. And so Bobby pushed them together and took a picture.
2 feet by 2
they're
feet
huge.
Or something like that. Yeah.
They're huge. Yes. So when I was in the phase of life when I tried scrapbooking back in college, I made you a scrapbook.
Yeah, one of like probably 3 or 4 of them. Yeah.
And so one of the and you know, I had like a booklet of like love quotes or something, I don't know. And one of the little decal quote things that I could cut out and put in the scrapbook said, "Love is being stupid together." And so I loved it, and that's just kind of been our like motto for our marriage and our relationship, is just like being ridiculous. And so Karen made us this artwork to have up in our house because it's just kind of what we try to remember all the time. And that's the name of our show. So, yay. We have a logo and we have a name.
We have a logo. Thanks, Karen.
Yay. Okay.
So tonight, and we're in the just chatting category, so like anybody, feel free to ask questions. If you're just tuning in for the first time or you just found us, we are just kind of hanging out talking about our marriage. We've been married for 12 and a half years. We've been together now for 16 and a half years. I went to grad school for family therapy. After grad school, I decided not to go on with that as a career. So full disclosure just for full disclosure and for legal purposes, I am not a therapist. So anything that comes out of my mouth is just stuff that I'm pulling out of my mouth. Sometimes it's coming out of my butt. So,
I was going to say, not your butt?
Yeah, sometimes it's coming out of my butt. I'll always try to relate things back to actual studies and whatnot when I can. But yeah, a lot of this is just going to be things that has worked for us, or just talking about our experiences, like we're going to be talking about tonight, which is
being a new parent during a pandemic.
Yes, pandemic parenting.
Ooh. Oh, if you want captions, they're over here somewhere.
Oh yeah. Over here, I can't go all the way over there, but over here, there's a little CC button, and you can push that, and it will pop up a little window.
And we fixed the layout this week, so hopefully it's not covering my face this time.
We had some issues.
If it is, please let us know so we can fix it.
No, it shouldn't be. It should be on the far right-hand side of the screen. Now, if chat starts going up through the thingy, actually, it's not even on there. Why are you not on there? That's why. Ha! There.
Cool.
Because it was hiding underneath. Now, that might get covered up in the captions, but that's okay.
That's fine.
So, yeah.
Yes. So, as we've mentioned previously, we have one child. We have a 6-month-old son, Lucas. And he was born December 3rd of 2019. Now, I do want to kind of preface all of this with we have been married for 12 and a half years. We didn't start like talking seriously about kids until about 10 years of marriage. So we actually got pregnant in summer of 2017 and had a miscarriage. I do not want to brush over that at all. That happened. Like, I'm not trying to ignore that happened, but we are going to have a show, an episode coming up talking about grief in marriage. So I don't want to like not mention we had a miscarriage. I'm also not trying to seem like I'm glossing over it.
And anybody who knows Sarah or follows her on social media or whatever
Yes.
knows that you've been very vocal about that anyway. You've had a lot of people come to you talking about it because it's not something that people talk about in the open. And so
right. So us not talking more about it tonight is in no way an indication that we don't want to talk about it. We will talk about it, but tonight we're focusing on the fact we're focusing on parenting Lucas specifically. And so after that miscarriage, it took us 18 months to get pregnant again. Granted, some of those months we were working on a patio and we hated each other, so I don't know if we can really count those months, but whatever. 18. 18 months until we got pregnant with Lucas. So, having a baby during a pandemic, a new baby during a pandemic, not actually physically having him during the pandemic, but raising him.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of months, so he was born in December, and so the first 2 months of him being born were like perfectly normal, like everything else.
Well, but it was cold and flu season.
No, that's true.
So we were kind of like self-quarantined at home because he was so tiny.
Just
and
to be cautious.
It was during my maternity leave, so obviously.
And so we didn't really have to go anywhere, which was kind of nice.
Right. Like we saw family and friends here and there, but we weren't like out in the world much. Especially that first month. I didn't really take him out much until January. And then I went back to work in February, and then 6 weeks later, quarantined again.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was a point you mentioned cold and flu season. There was a point at which you might have actually had COVID. We haven't gotten you, what do you call it?
Well, I don't think you can yet.
Antibody tested
I don't
yet,
think they have that yet.
No, I
so.
think they do. You just have to pay for it or something like that. I don't know. At
works.
any rate, there was a point at which you might have actually had it, but...
Yes. Like having a preemie. Yes. I mean, when you have a new baby, you're extra cautious anyway about germs, right? But then when Bobby's gonna fix something because we only saw like a little snippet of what just came through on the chat. Yes, it's like having a preemie in the NICU. I mean, you're protecting that baby. You're making sure that it's not getting sick until. We also don't want to like not expose him to anything, but he didn't get we got his first vaccinations when he was born, but then like his first doctor's visit, his first series of vaccinations didn't come till 2 months. So what were we saying about? Yes, I thought we suspect that I may have already had COVID-19. I went back to work on February 3rd.
Wee, dancing chat. Sorry, folks.
I'm like trying to like keep talking.
No, it's fine. Keep talking.
We went back to work. I went back to work February 3rd, and within like 4 days of being there, I got sick. I work in a high school, so there was zero surprise on my part because we had been quarantined essentially. I mean, not quarantined, but we had basically been inside away from people for 2 months. And then I go back into the cesspool of germs that is a high school.
I mean, it really is.
Oh, I mean, I work with high school kids, but they still, like everywhere. Like even though they're not like little kids who are like, but they still don't. They don't dab when they sneeze. Not all of them.
We're teaching Lucas that too.
We're trying to teach him
he
to
needs to dab.
Take his hand. Dab. So I may have had it. I had a really bad cough, like a terrible cough, and I was like super, super sick for a few days. I have asthma, so that didn't really help.
And this was like right as the whole COVID thing started to hit the news, like very first started, and so we did go out and buy a mask, and so that was kind of weird for you to be hanging around the house.
Well, right, and I had anytime I was with Lucas, like feeding him, I had my mask on, and it was hard because I couldn't like kiss him or I couldn't like and he wasn't at the point where he was mimicking my facial expressions or anything like that. He was mostly going off of voice at that point still, so that was fine. But yes, so then mid-March comes along, and not only had I just gone on strike, but then then we find out that the governor's closing school buildings and we're staying at home, and it's like, what the heck? This is for real. This is no joke. This is happening. So we had to make some decisions that were really hard.
A lot of them, yeah.
And just even now, which we'll get to, decisions that we're trying to make as things are opening back up in the world. One of the hardest decisions we had to make was about family, and seeing family. My parents are both over 60. All of our parents are over 65. And his mom is immunocompromised. My parents are not. They are really healthy people, but they are at risk age.
Which, P.S., your dad ended up getting sick right after all this COVID stuff hit, and
yes.
Thankfully it ended up being bronchitis. He got some medication, everything was fine.
As
far as we know, everything was good.
There wasn't a lot of testing of it. This happened like at the end of March, so there wasn't there wasn't testing available.
No, they didn't test him for it, but the doctor just confirmed that he had bronchitis.
Yes, but that's because they didn't, he wasn't showing severe enough symptoms for them to test him for COVID-19 because the tests were so few and they're so scarce. So he got treated for bronchitis. He did recover. Whether or not he actually had it, I don't honestly know. But yes, because I heard that was kind of a common diagnosis of patients who are presenting with COVID-19 symptoms. So, but he's great now. He's super great. But that was a scary time because, is that where you're going to get to that part about how everyone had to quarantine but us?
No.
So my brother is an essential worker, and so he had to go into work still. My brother's girlfriend was finishing up in-person stuff at her school and taking their kids with her. And my dad and my mom had just spent the week before my dad got sick with the kids, babysitting them for a week. And so when we found out my dad was sick, it was like, I said to all of them, you all need to stay home. If you need anything, we will get it for you.
And I actually did end up going to get your dad's medication for bronchitis.
Because my mom was
just dropped it off in a Target bag, left it on the storm door.
Mm-hmm. And I said, my mom said, oh, I'll go to the drive-thru. It'll be fine. I'm like, no, Mom, if you don't have a mask, because at that time, people weren't making masks yet. And I said, you don't have a mask. You've been exposed to Dad. If he actually has it and you go to the drive-thru, you're still breathing tech on this Walgreens tech. No, Bobby will get it for you. It's fine. So yeah, it was very hard to be really strict with our parents and our families about, we're not seeing you. You're not, unless it's on a screen. I know you want to see Lucas. And
that has been the hardest thing, not only for me, but mostly for my mom, would probably be the biggest thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one thing. It's hard enough for me to tell my mom, no, you can't see your grandson in person. And obviously it's not because no, you can't see him. We're not trying to withhold him, obviously, but it's for her safety because she's had a lot of health issues in recent history. But especially for her because he's her first grandchild.
Yes. And of course, he's my parents' third, but there's an 8.5-year age gap between my nephew and Lucas. So this new baby thing is still very exciting. I mean, it would have been excited anyway. But a lot of things have changed since my nephew was born. So it's kind of a new experience with Xavier. I mean, I don't know why I do that. I call Lucas Xavier and I have no idea why. That's my nephew. I have no idea. So yes. But so that kind of doesn't lead into the next point on our show notes, but
yeah, go ahead.
But part of us being really cautious about him seeing our families is because another hard decision we had to make was to send him to daycare or not. Knowing that he would have been exposed to another family.
Which we will talk about in a little bit. But
yes.
One of the things, too, about that has been trying to find creative ways that we can see people, not only just in general, right, but specifically grandparents or our parents. And we've had to really try to figure out how can we do that safely. And so we've had a couple of dates where essentially we just like had a tailgate in the restaurant parking lot.
Oh, with grandparents.
Yeah, with grandparents.
Yes.
Yeah. Where, they'll park a couple of spots away, we'll park a couple of spots away, and then we'll just call the restaurant from outside and say, okay, we're going to order, and, they bring it out to us and whatever, right? And that's kind of how it's been for the last couple of months.
Yes, and we'll get to kind of where we're at now in a little bit. As it's progressed to now, things are opening up again and how we're dealing with that. With having a new baby and everyone around you being super excited about it and wanting to babysit, well, now no one can babysit.
Right.
Right. So when we went to Lucas's first appointment with his pediatrician, who we've come to really like, we weren't sure. You never know. What? His first name is Lonnie. He's our age, so it's kind of okay. He asked us, do you have your first date night scheduled where grandma and grandpa come to babysit? And we're like, no, but our anniversary's coming up in a few weeks, so we'll probably do something for that. He's like, you need to get that scheduled. You need to commit to what date night out.
And we did.
And we did with each other, like in this first month. Like, do it soon. And I really appreciated that was coming from his doctor. Like, do it.
Who also has, 2 kids, 3 kids?
He has 2 young ones of his own, yep. So we did have a date night for our anniversary, and then a couple weeks later we went out with some friends, and grandparents came over and babysat again. But that has been... we haven't been able to kind of get that support of, like, just having somebody come over and watch him so I can do something at home, like household things, or so we can have a date night, or so we can go out with our adult friends without kids. There hasn't been any of that. Well, for any of us, right? No one's been going out to restaurants and things.
But even if it was to go do exactly what we did with with the grandparents, to go somewhere, further away from us and just sit in the parking lot and have dinner together.
Right. But we
haven't really been able to do that.
We'd have to bring Lucas, which, I mean, our friends want to see Lucas. Like, they love Lucas, but it wouldn't be time alone or time away. And so that has been that's been interesting to navigate and be creative of, like, he's home, he's sleeping in his room. How are we still going to have, like, a date night when he's still home? So finding that time together has been a challenge, but also important. I think one of the ways that we did end up kind of getting that time together was working from home. I would say 95% of the days we've been working from home, we've had lunch together, which has been cool because we never got to have lunch together before.
Right, and it's 30 minutes that we're going to spend together, like, every day.
Right, unless one of us has, like, a meeting that goes long, or, but we still get, like, 20 minutes.
But it's also 30 minutes without him. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, like, even if he's sleeping, right, you're still, okay, is he going to stay asleep? Is he going to wake up?
Like,
is he going to need anything? Right, like right now, we've got the monitor out there, yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, we're fine. Like, our relationship is great, but that is something we haven't had, is that kind of community village support for us to be able to have that time for ourselves. And that's something that was pointed out to me by a coworker.
Not that we haven't had support from people, certainly not, but it's just physically, right, in order to have that time alone.
Right. So, as you mentioned before, we were not sure what to do about daycare. I was going to be working from home, which, as a sign language interpreter in a school, I never thought I could do my job from home. I always said I couldn't, actually.
Side note, partly because of that and partly because of this, we have new internet now. Hooray!
Yeah.
So it's probably not like as choppy if you've watched this in the past.
Yes.
Sorry.
I record a lot
I'm
of...
excited about that.
He's very excited about that. I record a lot of videos for my job now that I'm working
Sometimes accidentally in 4K, and they end up being like a terabyte-sized file.
Stop. And it was a graduation. It was a video for graduation. It was 25 minutes long, and I had to upload it.
In 4K.
It took like 4 hours. It was just like... Then I was done, and I was all like, ugh, it's not even showing up. And he's like, how big is the file? What do you have it in? And I'm realizing I did it all wrong. It was adjusted. It was fine. All was well. Graduation went great. On the interpreting end, it went great. So I was going to be working from home. He was kind of already working from home part-time.
3 days a week, yeah.
Yeah. And so we had to decide, what are we going to do about daycare? Well, right around the time I started working from home, Lucas started the teething process, where he was running these low-grade fevers, like, often. And because of COVID-19 and how it's still scary, but how extra scary and how many precautions were being taken in the very beginning.
And there's extra precautions from the health?
The licensing.
Yeah, whoever's in charge of daycare licensing, right?
Yes.
They have all these extra restrictions that they need to have.
Yes.
In order just to be safe, right? So normally you would say, oh, he's running, like 99 point whatever. No big deal, right? He's just running a little bit warmer than normal because I think a fever for an infant's considered 100.4 or something like that.
Yeah.
But now they're like, no, if they're over like
98.8.
Yeah.
It was 98.8. He had to stay below.
Which is crazy. That's because the normal body temperature is 98.6.
Right.
Like,
and we respected it 100% because, yes, we respected it because we don't want her to lose her license. We love her. We love sending Lucas to her. We want to make sure we can continue doing so. So Lucas was home for about I guess we're kind of skipping a little bit, but I don't know. But
yeah,
he was home for about a week and a half with this fever on and off. And this was during these 2 weeks of distance learning prep. And yeah, I've heard that from other people too.
Yeah, something specific about our daycare provider. I don't know. Whatever. It's her license. Fine. We'll just,
Yes. And
we don't want to jeopardize that for her.
No. So, it was during... Oh, sure. It was during the 2 weeks of distance learning prep that he was home. So I wasn't meeting with students really yet. And then it was also during part of my spring break that he was home. But just having meetings with adults, with staff, sometimes he would be sitting in on meetings with me, which I knew my coworkers were not going to complain about. Because one of the positive things about distance learning and having my kid at home sometimes was that my coworkers and the students got a chance to kind of meet him and see him grow up a little bit, and they normally wouldn't have because I was not prepared to bring him in to visit until much later in the school year.
Well, and it was tough for me because I'm sitting on a computer working the whole time, and so at that point he was just too floppy to put in that carrier thingy. He would just fall over, and so it didn't really work very well.
Right.
And so it was pretty much you or put him in the swing or something. Yeah.
Right. And he was starting to use the jumper, so he wasn't quite there with that yet either. Because he was 3.5 months when this all started. So we had to so long story short, not really, we chose to keep him in daycare because we realized during this part Yes,
Oh
Elise.
my
Yes.
God, yes.
So, okay, hold on though. First,
That's right, they have the same jumper
First,
we do.
I have to say thank you to Karen and her husband Brad for giving us our jumper. So let's not discount that appreciation, because he loves it and he wants to be in it all the time, and it's great.
It's his favorite toy, for sure.
But yes, these songs, and they have like a jazzed up version of the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Which why do we need a jazzy Itsy Bitsy Spider? I don't understand. I don't. So yes. Anyway. So yes, once we realized how tough it was to parent him while working from home, we said, yes, we are going to keep him in daycare. All the other families pulled their kids. We have an in-home provider, and there's 5 families total. 4 or 5 families.
It was 4 or 5, but 7 kids, because 2 of them have multiples, I think.
Now they do.
Yeah.
And one is her son, our daycare lady's son, who ended up being part of the group. He's not counted into the numbers because he's in kindergarten, but he was home doing distance learning, which is... so anyway, they all pulled their kids. So it was just Lucas and her son for 2 months, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, almost 2 months.
He got lots of attention.
The 2 of them.
Which is great.
And Kobe.
Oh, and they have a
big
giant dog.
Yeah, weighs probably like 120 pounds.
Yeah. Who is great with kids. So, speaking, our little dog is running around over here too. So we kept him in daycare. She said, I'm staying open. I'm not closing. You can hold his spot by paying and keeping him home. You can bring him. I'm staying open. And so we just said, you know what? And it was, we adjusted our hours a little bit because we were home and there wasn't the commute time on either end. And she needed a little bit of extra time in the afternoons to do schoolwork with her son. So we adjusted our hours. He's been there for less time than he was before in a day, but I've been able to do my job much better. Just distraction free. I can just focus on my videos, on the kids, on whatever, with the exception of Chewy barking sometimes. Not a big deal.
Me shouting obscenities into the microphone.
Oh my gosh!
When I
was
sound check things.
Oh my gosh, you guys! I did a social group with some students I was interpreting, and he was testing the microphone for these streams, and he's like doing a volume check of his voice, and I just hear him yell something like, "Let's turn this mother effer up!" And he screams it, and I'm like not very far away, but I just like panic and mute myself, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope they didn't hear him. I didn't like no one who could hear gave me a reaction. So I just texted him like, dude, I'm in a meeting with students. You can't be screaming obscenities across the basement. And then he kind of peeks out and he's like, oops. He shuts the door, comes back in here, and he's like, how loud can I make this shit? And he's like, you're still doing it. No one
sound dampening. We'll sound dampen the room.
Sometimes so yes,
sometimes you're unable to behave. Any tips?
I don't
Where would you like me to begin?
Oh my gosh.
I could go on all day about like people misbehaving.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We can talk about Lucas misbehaving, which is rare. He's 6 months old, so he's almost there. He's not quite there yet. So working from home was not going to be an option for us unless, she was closed because she had an appointment or something. But so he was going to daycare. Her husband was working part of the time. He wasn't for a while. So he was going to work. She also has a part-time job outside of daycare that she was still going to. So Lucas was being exposed to other germs. And so that was an even bigger reason for us to like not let him get too close to grandparents. So then we decided to do these like distance lunches at one point down the line, and saw grandparents and stuff, because we felt safer doing that than risk the contact, because he had been exposed to other people, and then more families started coming back, and so yeah. Where are we going now?
Oh yeah, daycare. I don't know.
Daycare.
That was kind of our issue with daycare, just whether to send him, whether not to send him, and
I'm happy we did.
Because our daycare provider said she's going to be open regardless. Honestly, like, I wasn't going to pay and not utilize the service. Could I, in theory, have made it work, especially as he got a little bit bigger and older? Yes, but we're going to pay the same money either way. Like, I might as well use the service that we're paying for, and we like her anyway, so I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the, things about daycare is, he's 6 months old, so he's just now starting to get to the point where he's recognizing people, he's mimicking faces, he's learning things from people. So that social development was really important to us, because we weren't going to we didn't know he wasn't going to be around other people than us. And we didn't have the luxury, I don't want to say luxury, but we were not going to be fortunate to have help from grandparents, because we wanted to keep them away. And that
had always been something we talked about before he was born, was, do we want to keep him home or find some kind of care either through grandparents or whatever, or do we want to send him to daycare? Because obviously there's benefits and cons to both, right? Obviously the big one for sending him places is not only does he get exposed to like germs and stuff, right? Because they just need to do that sometimes, but also is obviously socialization. And so when it was just him and our daycare provider's son,
who's in kindergarten, so there's a big gap.
right. And so I was like, well, shoot, that's not really a thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
Prior to all the other families pulling out their children, there was like a 9-month-old, I think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's now a year. Yes. Well, and then now here we are in this world where when you go places, you need to wear masks. So when we do go places, which we haven't really gone anywhere except for the doctor and daycare with him, but we have, at some point, if we're out and about, people are wearing masks, and he's at an age where he's relying on looking at people and learning how to make faces from their faces. Well, what faces is he seeing? So that's just lots of thoughts, and that kind of segues into he's 6 months old. How many times have I said that? About 107.
Should keep a running count.
6 months old.
Check. Go.
So babies get vaccinations when they're born, and then at 2 months, 4 months, 6 months.
Vaccinate your kids.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry.
But okay. So this it was like, the initial at 2, and then the boosters at 4 and 6. And so so he was coming up on his 4-month appointment when we started being in the stay-at-home orders. And we were really worried about it, so we called, because we had been hearing from friends who had children that were over the age of 2 that their appointments were being postponed indefinitely, because no one knew when we were going to be opening back up again. So we were kind of nervous, and we were waiting a little bit closer to find out, because things were changing daily, that we'd waited until a few days before the appointment to call, and they said, yes, if your baby is under 2 years, especially if they are in a series of shots, which he is or was, then yes, they will be we will still be doing well child visits. But only one parent can come. And no one in the house can have had symptoms for 14 days or something like that. So we called, and they said, yes, we're going to keep his 4-month appointment. So Bobby went, because I was not confident enough in my ability to be the only parent there during a vaccination. Because actually for his 2-month appointment, somebody was coming out to fix our thermostat, and they ended up showing up right before we would have had to leave for his appointment. And that was when we could both go. But because one of us had to be here for this technician, I said, no, I'm not doing it. So Bobby went. So Bobby went to 2-month and 4-month, and then he just had his 6-month on Monday. And so I went by myself because he had to go into work.
He is a chunker.
Oh my gosh,
TS.
He's 19.7 pounds as of Monday. And he is 26.25 inches long. Yeah. So he's a healthy eating boy. Yes. So he is already making his way into 9-month clothes because he's bottom heavy, and his torso is long. So he's just a mess. He's just a mess, but he's super cute, so he gets away with it. Yeah. Doctor appointments. So yeah, we were concerned about him not being able to get in because we didn't want, if he missed the 4-month appointment or they had to postpone it, then that would postpone the 6-month vaccinations and then the 1-year so like they said, nope, we're going to keep the vaccination appointments, and anything under 2 years old, especially if it's a vaccination appointment, we're keeping it. So that was good that they kept it.
Yeah.
And so we went to the doctor, and I had to be in a mask. I went on Monday. I had to have my mask on the whole time. And so I was talking to him a lot. And I think the doctor was kind of like, what are you doing? But he couldn't see my face. He could see my eyes. So I wanted to make sure that he knew that, like, my voice was happy. Like, we're happy. We're at the doctor. It's a good thing. Yay. Because he can't see that I'm smiling. So that was an interesting experience to, like, try and encourage him through my words and my tone of voice, which if he was a deaf child, it would have had to do a lot of, like, clapping and signing and, like, yay, like, you know, there would have been a lot more to it. But yeah. What else do you want to say about parenting?
That makes me wonder too, like, if we had a deaf child, how would you do that without using your mouth?
Lots of happy eyebrows and, like, excited hand gestures. I don't know. You would figure it out. You'd figure it out. That's what we do.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Yeah. What else about parenting in a pandemic?
Yeah,
Sorry, being new parents in a pandemic. Have you seen the masks? Yeah. Yeah, with the clear... Yes, we are the clear panel. Yes, we are actually at work trying to figure out a pattern that works. Hi, Meredith. We're trying lots of experiments, not just us as the interpreters, but other staff members who are, well, hey, what do you...
don't hurry that.
Well, it just, like, blocked my view. To see what
in case anyone's wondering what
best.
This looks like.
Yes.
It basically looks like that.
Yes. So one of the issues with those masks is being able to breathe. Yes. Being able to breathe with them on, because if it's not porous, so that you can't get germs in and out.
Yes, it is a little bit frightening.
You can't
Just
breathe.
a mouth behind the mask. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. One of my coworkers is chiming in. Yes, I have coworkers with skills. I do not have those skills. Who are making...
Oopsies. Sorry, chat. You went away.
Who are working on making them, because I work in a school in St. Paul. And St. Paul and Minneapolis have city ordinances where you have to be wearing masks. Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Prevents
okay.
the fog. I've said that. I've told you that. The soap makes it stop fogging up.
Like
but
a
you still
special
can't-
kind of? Or just rub a bar of soap on it or what?
I don't know. She's going to tell us, I bet.
Okay.
Just wait. She'll tell us.
That would honestly be great for that, because that
Bar.
thing fogs up all the time.
Bar. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So the city ordinances in St. Paul and Minneapolis are if when you're in an indoor indoors in a building, you have to wear a mask, and which I believe would include a school. So that means we all have to be wearing masks. We actually, as a staff, had to just read over this like expected protocol or expectations of us if we're back in the buildings and sign off on it. And it did, we have to wear masks. So, and this isn't necessarily just for the deaf and hard of hearing students and staff. I mean, I think it would benefit a lot of students. We work with a lot of students who are immigrant and refugee students who are learning English and maybe are relying on lip reading to pick up on some language. So these could...
and you work with some kids that aren't great with like social cues and things like that too.
Right. So when you're trying to tell them that everything's okay, it's great, like they can't, they don't know. So I think that the clear mouth masks would be beneficial for all students, quite frankly, in any program, whether they have disabilities or learning a new language or not. So that's going to be interesting to see which ones work. And right, yes, facial expressions are so important to everybody. And if you can't see beyond the eyes, I mean, you can only do so much with your eyes. You can't, I mean, it's not great.
Sure. Although, hang on a second though, because I'm going to interrupt, because I feel like maybe is that an issue that you face as somebody with a lot of facial hair?
Are you asking the person who's commenting? Who is that person?
Nightheart Gaming is one of the DM. So I don't have a bot to do this. It's Nightheart Gaming is one of the Dungeons and Dragons channels that I really enjoy watching during their off time. They paint minis and make drinks and just hang out. And so
beards in the face, sure. Beards.
I suppose that's a good point.
Beards and mustaches are pretty terrible for lip reading in general. I mean, I'm just like, and male interpreters. I mean, I guess if a female interpreter wanted to grow a mustache, that's her prerogative. But like, it's you're supposed to keep it short and trim so it's easier to see the mouth movements. Anyway, side note, tangent. So I'm
sorry, folks. That's just us.
I'm curious to see how it works with going back to work in the building, if the district is going to be providing these, if they're going to be taking donations, if we're somehow responsible, that if like they're going to be giving us this option, baby shampoo.
We have plenty of that.
We have that.
Oh my God. Our child, every time I put him in the bath,
he pees.
He pees in the bathwater. Dude, seriously. Can you just wait?
Yeah, I knew that they were accepting. Okay, thank you. I knew that they were accepting donations, Carly. I'm curious though if yes, I hope that the union fights for them to provide them and or to pay someone to make them, and to have the mouth opening, or visible. I don't even know what to call it. It's not an opening, but visibility. And that they're providing multiples to people, because I don't have time to wash it every single night. Like, especially give us 5, or 3, I don't know, so that we don't have to wash it every single day. My grandma could read lips. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, and everyone that relies on lip reading has different thresholds, preferences. I always say that's why my mom had to get glasses sooner than she needed to, because her eyes got worn out by all the lip reading she was doing. That's not true. Like, it runs in the family.
And then it's like, if you can't understand what they're saying, you gotta risk, like, okay, do I ask them to say it for a 4th time and look like an idiot, or do I just smile and nod or laugh and hope that was the right response, and maybe also look like an idiot?
Well, that's the struggle that people with a hearing difference, yes. Or a person like an American working with a student who is learning English. If I can't understand their accent, that's something that a risk that we all have to take. Yes. So I think that those masks will be helpful for a lot of people in the public. They are a little weird looking, in my opinion. They are. But
have you seen the ones that have your face on the outside of them? Yeah, no, like they take a picture of you and they print the outside of your face on the mask, so it's basically just this, only your face on the outside.
No, I'm good. I'll pass.
Kind of, it's mildly creepy.
No. So that's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we don't even know what the heck's happening in the fall. We're not going to know till like August 29th, probably. I don't know. I mean, who freaking knows? Yeah. Sounds worse. Somebody that I know, I saw on Facebook, she's like a huge Elvis fan, and she saw on Amazon or something somewhere the face masks that had like Elvis's like nose and mouth or whatever. And then like, oh, this looks so cool. And then like they put them on, and it was like horrifying. Like
I saw a Darth Vader one where it went around your neck, and it had basically like that Darth Vader bib with the buttons on it, and then up to your face.
That would be fine, except no one can see your mouth. But whatever. So that's an interesting aspect of child development, that we now live in this world where everyone's mouth is covered up. And you don't know if they're a safe person or not because you can't see their whole face.
And part of me wonders, and I didn't do enough like developmental psychology type things to know the answer to this, but it makes you wonder if that is going to have any significant effect on
this generation
of kids that are growing up without being able to see people's mouths for half of the time that they're looking at people.
Well, I mean, when you go to like a friend's house, it's not going to probably be an issue, but it's when you're out and about, when you go with your parents to the store, or I don't even know. If you go out to a restaurant, whatever, out in public, those places, and you're still going to have the interaction with people at daycare, people at school. Actually, maybe not at school. I shouldn't say that, because who knows what's happening with school. But at school, you're probably wearing a mask. Family, friends, you're still seeing. Mm-hmm. But
like, perfect example, right? When we're like tickling him or whatever, or booping him in the nose or whatever, right? We'll build up to it with, and honestly, I'm sure that part of it is that he cues off of us going,
it's gonna happen.
And if he can't see that, what happens? I guess we could probably just put the mask on and try it and see.
Test it out. We'll let you know next week.
We'll do an experiment, right? Perfectly harmless experiment. We'll try it.
He's sleeping right now.
And we'll report back.
So I will not wake him up just to do this.
No, that would be a terrible experiment.
Yeah, no.
Go get him right now.
Okay, all right. Didn't work? All right, go back to sleep. But
maybe that'll happen when babies.
Maybe what will happen? It's babies, kids with a hearing difference will learn to read other bodies. Yeah. Well, and that's what you have to do anyway. I mean, that's sign language, right? Is body language. I mean, it's been all. If you were okay, so I guess we're no longer talking about parenting. So, if you live in Minnesota, you watch press conferences with the
amazing... It's okay, we're just chatting, we're not talk show.
With like the amazing Nick Zapko interpreting. And so many people are, like, I can understand her way better than I can understand what
time out.
Saying.
You and I both had this look on our face. It's nothing to be concerned about. It's just our neighbors. We live in the suburbs, and our houses are like one on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. There's about 15 feet between us and our neighbors, and their kids are fairly loud, and the air just like the sound bounces back and forth between our houses. And so we're sitting in the basement next to them, and any loud noises, we're like, oh, what was that? Everything's fine. It's just the kids next door.
Loud.
No big deal.
They're so loud. But yes, so sign language. So much of it is body language and body, but a huge part of it is facial expressions and your body language. So like, it's going to be interesting. But yes, if you've watched any of the press conferences with Governor Walz in Minnesota, in the very beginning, there were a couple of other deaf interpreters who were doing it, but the last, I'd say, month, it's been consistently Nick doing it, and she's phenomenal. I've seen people commenting, like, saying, I understand what he's saying better when I watch her, and I don't even know sign language. So, yay. So it's, yes. It's going to be an interesting time to see this generation grow up and see how much it's affecting them. I especially the ones who haven't already established being able to pick up on verbal, tonal cues. The little babies who are growing up. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I knew the answer to that question. Like I said, I didn't study enough like developmental psychology and that sort of thing to know what effect that might have.
Yeah. Yeah. So when thinking about like where we're at now with the pandemic, and in Minnesota, restaurants and gyms are now open, but they have like limitations. I think it's 25% capacity at gyms, bowling alleys, and movie theaters, assuming that those places are ready to and wanting to open. Outdoor dining is still available, and you can gather in slightly larger groups of people now. So we are seeing family. We just saw my family last weekend, and we'll be seeing his family this weekend in person.
Oh, is it by appointment? You have to call and make an appointment to be at a gym?
I think it depends on the gym. I think some gyms are like keeping track. I would imagine.
I mean, I imagine they all have to keep track, right? But I would think you could just go, okay, there's 20 people in here, that's it.
Yeah, but then if you're giving everybody a time limit, which I'm assuming you'd have to if you're limiting the number of people, then somebody has to stand outside and wait for an hour. So yeah, I would have probably appointments. Yeah. Oh, well, Lifetime is a huge place. Sure. That makes sense. So we are seeing family. We're
gonna go see my mom this weekend.
Yeah, I said that.
That's gonna be tough, right? So with her parents, it was easy enough for us to go, okay, fine, we're being safe about it. He's really the only kid in daycare. Our daycare provider's son isn't in school because everybody's not in school. Not a big deal, mm-hmm. right? We know they're safe. We know we're safe. Fine. Mm-hmm. With my mom, however, it's much less about.
It's much more serious.
Yeah, it's way
health-wise, it's much more serious. So we'll just have to take a lot more precautions to make sure that she's, because it's not. Of course, we don't want Lucas to get sick, but it's not about Lucas getting sick. It's about her getting sick. So we'll just take extra precautions to make sure that she's literally, like, physically covered more.
I mean, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but I'm not that worried about either of us getting this thing.
Meaning what, like, if we get, like, what happens?
Right. Yes. I'm not that concerned. Don't get me wrong, we're taking it seriously. We have masks, we have hand sanitizer, wipes, all that jazz.
Super serious about it. Yeah.
But it's not like, if you look at the people who've died from COVID-19, it is mostly people over 70, mostly people with compromised immune systems, which is exactly my mom, and so she has a very high likelihood of dying if she catches this thing.
Right. Well, not in all cases. I mean, just this week, one of the board members of the district I work in, 31 years old, died COVID-19. So I have actually found myself more anxious about getting back out into the world than I thought I would be. Like, when this all started, I was like, I can't wait to see the kids again. I can't wait to go back to school. I can't wait to go to a restaurant. I can't wait to see my friends. That is still true. But now that we can, I am like super nervous about it and super anxious about about getting back out with other people. We had some friends who had gotten together a few weeks ago, and I was like, truthfully, I was terrified of making that first step. Partly because just I was nervous, but also because I felt very strongly that if we're going to go be seeing people in person, we need to see our families before we're seeing our friends, because, you know, our parents have this new grandchild that they've barely seen.
That's something that we talked about, and that didn't seem fair for that to be the thing that we went out and did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. That going back to my mom, that's one of those things that's tough, right? Because we have seen your parents; they have held him, and we wouldn't bat an eye at doing it again because they're being safe about it. We're being safe about it. And their risk is substantially less than what my mom's is.
Right.
And
but
so
we want to make sure there's a way that your mom can hold him.
Right. And so it's hard for us to figure out, okay, how can we I don't want to say be fair, because it's not a matter of being fair at this point. It's a matter of keeping her alive and healthy.
Right. And so we're, and it's just a really weird time. And I've said this the whole time, that I'm thankful we had him before this.
Oh my God, yes.
Like in the hospital had him. Because one of my colleagues, who may be watching because she has in the past, our babies are 3 months apart, almost exactly. And she had her daughter while we were on strike, but like days before the governor said we're closing schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so then she had a brand new baby in this time where none of us could come over. And I mean, she and her husband bought a place relatively close to us, and I couldn't offer my help. I couldn't go over and give her a break. And
they did drop us off beer at our front door.
They did bring us beer. It was very sweet.
Also, Meredith, I'm with you as far as like my comfort level goes. Like, I have no problem going out and doing something that isn't essential or whatever, but I'm going to do it as safely as I can.
Right. I mean, and I know Karen and I have had 100 conversations about haircuts, because we usually get them together with the same person does both of our hair. So we're just, being patient and respectful and trying to just make it work. Yes, we are hoping to see friends again soon. Oh, well, and allergies. Hold on. You probably still heard that, but I didn't want to. We could have, but I just had whatever. So my colleague had her baby right before this all started, and then another good friend of ours had a baby. Thank you, Anna. In May. Now
she's prepared for it.
This is it was her third delivery, and she's a nurse, so she was far less worried about potentially being without her husband if they said that he couldn't be there. She's like, she said to me, I'm thankful that you had Lucas before all this started, so you could have Bobby and you're able to have people come visit you and offer support with your first baby. So it's been challenging, but ultimately I'm thankful that I birthed him before this started, so that at least in those first couple of months I was able to get.
Yeah, and we did have those support. those first 2 months where everything was mostly normal.
People were able to come over, offer support. My mom came over and watched Lucas a couple times while I did laundry and took a nap. We were able to have visitors, and we were able to, and at least, one of my college roommates lives in Colorado. And she was in town over Christmas. And so I'm thankful that we were in a position where she was able to come and meet him before she went back out to Colorado. And so, there are things to be thankful for, looking back on where we're at now. This is the new normal. This is how we have to proceed going forward and continue to be cautious. But also understand that this isn't going away. That this is kind of where we're at, and things will slowly phase in, but we're just gonna have to find ways to make it work, to make sure that the people who want to be in Lucas's life are able to be in his life and our life. So yeah, I don't know. We're at 9:00. It's been an hour.
Yeah.
We got through our list of things that we wanted to talk about.
We did. We were going to talk about something else. We'd mentioned it last week, but then we didn't feel like it was going to be enough stuff to talk about or whatever. So,
right.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're just, honestly, we're just kind of pulling a lot of this out of our butts.
Yeah.
The first week when we talked about our lists of things that we hate each other, but we love, but we love each other anyway.
We'll put up with it.
That was a little bit more of, that was because that's been a long-standing theory that I've had about couples for a long time. And so we kind of knew what we were going to talk about. But yeah, honestly, a lot of this is just kind of like we're pulling stuff out of our butts a couple of days beforehand. And
we haven't definitively decided our topic for next week, but
we have a lot of things that we would like to talk about.
We're trying to balance serious topics with kind of less serious topics, so every week doesn't feel like heavy.
But unfortunately, a lot of the things that we have to talk about,
grief,
are heavy. And part of it is so if we're going to talk about relationships,
yes, yes, Meredith, yes, we did. Yes, this is our name.
Yes,
and it comes from a quote that I put in a scrapbook years ago for Bobby, and this is actually artwork that my friend Karen made for us years ago, because she knows that quote is very important to us in our marriage. And it's artwork that's in our basement right now that Bobby took a picture of. Yes. So yes, we have dealt with a lot of things in 16 and a half years.
And so part of the idea, if we're going to sit here and talk about relationships and what are we doing to make things work, well, what are we doing to make things work during all the times that are great and we're having fun and we love each other and
we always love each other.
Well, okay,
liking is the liking.
I don't know how much, not only entertainment, but also intellectual value there is in that, right? Because if everything's happy and great and everyone's getting along with each other, great, cool. It's how do we get along with each other and how do we navigate those times that are hard together?
Yeah.
And I don't mean this to sound like, oh, poor us, but we've been through a lot of those hard times where we've had to try to navigate that stuff, and so we wanna help pass that along and impart that stuff to other people.
And the people
but we don't want to be really bad thing this week and then really worse thing the next week over and over and over again, right?
Right. Children next door, sorry.
They'll probably go running across the yard in just a second.
And many of you who are watching, who have been either friends with us longer than our relationship or since our relationship, because a lot of our college friends, we all met at the same time. So you've been there with us through all of these things. And you kind of know where we're going. So tough topics that you guys have worked through. Right now, Meredith, or as we go forward?
No, I think she's talking about right now, as a brief overview here, right? Am I mistaken?
We're going to get the answer to that question.
A few seconds.
I know. That's why I'm filling the air space while we wait for her to type the answer to our question.
We could just open up the window and let the kids fill the air space. Oh my God.
In the future.
Or, when they eventually break a hole through my wall or whatever.
Yes, and that's the plan. That's the plan. Is to kind of go through in our heads the things that we have experienced and find themes. A lot of it ultimately involves dealing with grief as a couple, but different kinds of grief.
Yeah,
different one of us going through
loss of something.
Yes.
whether that's friends, whether that's family members, whether that's the child. Yeah.
Yes.
Relationships.
Yes. Yeah. So, right, and kind of navigating, because every single one of those experiences has been different, even though it's grief. It's not the same in every situation, because sometimes it's me going through it. Sometimes it's Bobby. And in the case of losing a child, it's both of us simultaneously.
And we couldn't really be there. And we'll talk about it more. Like we said before when we first came on, we will absolutely talk about this as a topic.
Yes.
But just to preview that, it was one of those situations where neither of us could be there for each other, and that made it even harder.
Right. And loss of in Bobby's case a parent, in my case a grandparent, both of us are sad. Both of us are grieving in some way at the same time, but it was his parent my grandparent or his grandparent. So it was like one of us could be the support griever, if you will.
And in those cases, I think most people would say it's clear that, okay, you're the support person, you're the person closer to this. You should be the one that's getting the support, right? I say that because that's obvious to us, and I hope it's obvious to people. But if there's one thing that I learned about working with people over the years, it's not always obvious, and sometimes you have to point that out to people. And
sometimes that can result in tough conversations and sometimes loss of other relationships as a result of that. So sorry, we're not going to start talking about it now. No, Meredith, we can't talk about this. No, we have not.
No.
Nemo's going to live forever.
Yes. On that, we've made an agreement with him. On that note, that's partly why we ended up with Chewy. Partly because I've always just wanted a corgi, but also because I told Sarah that if Nemo dies before we have another dog, we won't get another one because I won't be able to do that.
And then I reminded him of our very close friends who lost their watch out, here it comes.
Corgis!
Who lost both of their dogs in a very short period of time from each other, and probably were the same way as us. I can't imagine getting another one after losing this one, and then they did, and so I'm like, you can't, I think we would have been able to. Of course, I love Chewy. Chewy and Nemo are buddies. Chewy loves Lucas. So does Nemo, but Chewy's obsessed with Lucas. Nemo is 13, right? Yeah, he's 13.
He's old. He's got arthritis and kidney failure.
He has kidney disease. Not failure, disease. So we will go through that at some point, Meredith, and when that and hopefully you will not hear an episode about that for a long time yet, but it will happen. Even though we've made an agreement with him, it's not written, so he can break it.
He can't write.
He can't write. He's a dog. I was not really in the headspace of getting a second dog because
you were pregnant.
Was 9 weeks pregnant. And Bobby kept sending me pictures of corgis, and I must have been feeling well. I must have been having a day where I just was physically feeling really well, and I wasn't I was holding stuff down, and I was eating well, and I just said, fine, go ahead, apply for this dog. And it actually wasn't Chewy, it was Chewy's brother, but not the point.
Actual littermate.
Actual brother, yes. Yeah. And
you had a 20-year-old cat? Holy crap.
Well, cats live a long time.
Yeah, but even still, that's really old for a cat.
Yeah. So, yes, we got Chewy when I was in my first trimester, and I felt miserable, and so it took me a really long time to warm up to Chewy. Because I felt so terrible physically, I wasn't in the right space to be loving on a new dog. And of course, I adore him now. He's I just love him so much. But here's the thing. I mean, I totally get where Ryan's coming from, Meredith, because I was that who was no, we don't know. But then we got Chewy, and Now I can't imagine a time without
Worth it.
Chewy.
Worth it.
Worth it. He's super cute. He's laying at my feet. This is why we're looking down. Yeah. So I mean, I don't really have any like tips to give you on trying to convince him other than we did it.
Just keep sending him pictures of cute cats.
And someday he'll have a really good day and he'll say, fine. Because that's what happened to me. And I was massively...
That's all I did.
And I was massively
Just
hormonal.
Anytime we would lay down in bed, I would be sitting there on my phone looking for corgis that were available for adoption. And I would find one and I would just show her. And...
Well, and I was like, I would read the profiles. And like the one that he sent me just kind of like that and my good mood fit. And we got the opposite of what the profile was, which was like, well trained. You know, whatever. Like... Yes, sounds
He's
great.
fine now. He was just a little bit of a shit. Now, granted, like, he was a little bit of a shit, but he was also a 9-year-old puppy, or a 9-month-old puppy. So, like,
yeah,
I don't know. He's a 9-month-old puppy. Like,
he's almost 2. He's almost 2 now. So, he's still kind of a puppy, and he's still super energetic and whatever. But, yes, and I've seen this like meme floating around there a lot. But, yes. Well, I mean,
wow.
If you're in a place where you feel like you would be okay with another animal. I mean, I don't know. Come on, Ryan, just do it. I'm a bad influence.
I'll start harassing. I'll start sending him pictures of cats too. How about that?
I've seen this thing floating around that says like, the only people winning during a pandemic quarantine are animals. Because their owners are home all the time and they're loving every second of it.
I also saw one that said something like, cats. And then underneath it said, can we knock this quarantine shit off yet? And then on the other side it said, dogs, can we quarantine forever?
Yes. So the dogs are going to go through quite an adjustment when either of us start going back to work again out of the house. So that's going to be an adjustment. But I start summer school on Monday, and it's distance learning. So they'll be living it up with me in the basement again. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm happy now that we have Chewy, even though he's, like, super, like, needy and wants attention all the time. And he hates it when I talk to Nemo and not him. And he's very, like, what about me? Come on, Mom.
Now we're going to turn this into a pet talking about pets show.
Okay, we can stop.
How about that?
Pet parenting during a pandemic. No, I'm just kidding. So yes, so that is kind of what we've been dealing with as new parents. And most of our friends, with the exception of the couple of friends who also... Would you guys be guests, Carly? Would you guys be guests on our show about pet parenting in a pandemic? I don't think we'd have a shortage of Tally.
I need to figure out. I need another webcam or an old cell phone that I can hook up and have like dog cam on the side.
We would have no shortage of volunteers for guests for that show. Like the Zoom call would be like 28 boxes,
and it would just be pets.
It would just be pets. That's it for an hour. Stare at our pets.
I've seen weirder things on Twitch. There was a guy, and I'm not kidding you, this guy was like, like a medium-sized channel. The guy had, usually like a couple hundred people watching him. And he, one time, just decided, as he was fixing up his house or whatever, we're going to stream paint drying. He literally painted a wall and like just stuck a camera on it, and like it was like one of the most viewed things he'd ever done. He had like 3 times, because... we're just going to watch paint dry. He would check in every once in a while and talk to people for like 10 minutes and then walk away and then just watch more paint dry. I don't know.
Sounds terrible.
The internet likes weird things. So, like just a Zoom call with like 20 dogs in it, sure.
That better
probably
get some views.
Yeah.
Especially all the cute pets my friends have cute pets. So do yours, I'm sure. But yeah, we could easily make a Zoom call with all of our pets. Easily. So yes. So... we, with the exception of a couple of our friends, just a couple of our friends, Oh my gosh, a llama can join your Zoom call?
What?
Carly?
You can have a llama? Oh my... Hattie needs to...
I know Meredith said it, but I'm telling Carly. Carly, this needs to happen.
We need to tell Matt and Savannah about that.
Yes.
Two of our friends have a daughter that loves llamas.
Yes. Summer school. We're having a meeting tomorrow about summer school. We need to talk to the teacher about where you can have a llama come to your Zoom meeting from a llama. We need to do this. Yes. I'm rereading the chat so I can remember this for tomorrow. Yes. We are doing this. But yes, so we just wanted to talk a little bit about our experience with parenting, being new parents specifically. We have lots of people in our lives who are parenting during this.
And that's not to say that oh, you have a 5-year-old. It's much easier. I'm sure it's not, right? Because you have a kid that's old enough to be like, Mom, Dad, I need whatever. Mom, I'm hungry, whatever, right?
Yes. I have. Yes.
Probably even harder, right? When you're trying to work from home.
And have schoolwork that they have to do also.
If Lucas is home, I can just sit him over there in the bouncer for an hour and work if I need to, And so I get it. I'm sure it's way harder.
If I'm not interpreting and I'm just in a staff meeting, I can easily ask someone else to take notes and I can hold Lucas. Right. As hard as it was for him to be home while I was trying to work, it would not have been nearly as hard as if he would have been school-aged or even walking and talking. So that's another thing that I was thankful for, that he's...
Yeah, we don't have to help Luke with homework.
Yeah. Yeah. That at most he needs a diaper change and some attention right now. And some food. 19.7 pounds. So he needs some food. Yes, and so we know that there are tons of you out there who have been parenting through all of this, and let me just be really clear about something. As an educator, if you have kids who are in school during all of this, you did not fail them ever at any point. I have heard that from so many parents, friends of mine, who felt like they were a failure or that they were failing their kids in their education. You are not. If you are not an educator, as a job, you are not failing your children in any way during distance learning. As long as you were encouraging them to do their best and you were encouraging them to, also do something fun. If you were also giving them something fun to do and you were just loving them and being their parent, you were successful in distance learning. Distance learning was terrible. So, please remember that. You did not fail your children, ever. As coming from an educator. We're all just trying our best, man. So, with that said,
I think we're gonna call it a night.
Yes. I know you have your your announcements.
Yeah. Just a quick reminder: if anybody wants to get notifications of when we go live, if you're not following us on social media already, you certainly can. But otherwise, in the corner down over there, you'll see the follow and subscribe buttons. If you like what you're seeing, you want to get more of it, or you want to know when we go live, you can certainly do that. That'll give you notifications. Also, if you have Twitch, or if you have a Prime account, you can hook that up to your Twitch account, and then you can subscribe to the channel once a month for free, which is super cool.
Yay!
Yeah. And then you get... Okay, so one quick thing about subscriptions and emotes and things like that. There are 3 different tiers. For the love of God, I'm not asking anyone to give us a tier 3 subscription. You can get these little emotes to use throughout Twitch. So if you watch more streams and whatever, you can use those wherever. I only get 1 slot right now, and so as the channel grows and we get more subscriptions and things like that, and more people following us, you get more slots that open up. And so once I have more slots, I'll move all of those over so that everybody can use them on the regular tier 1. That's the one that everyone can do with Twitch Prime for free. So
yay!
So it's not one of those gimmicks where I'm like, oh, do tier 3 or else you don't get the corgi, right? No, I want everyone to have the corgi, right? I literally can't fit another one in my allotted space right now.
Well, then why don't you get rid of the other ones? Because the corgi is the best.
Because this is primarily about beer.
Yeah, but even in your beer life, Chewy's important.
But beer.
But Chewy.
But beer.
But Corgi.
I know.
Corgi wins every time. So yes, so thank you for tuning in and interacting with us on the chat. We do have things planned out, but it is always really fun to like interact with our friends on chat and answer your questions and comment on and gives us more material to work with.
Or even random people if you just happen to stop in.
Yeah.
Like, great, cool. Let's talk about stuff.
Yes,
No, it's not Minecraft. Yeah.
So anyway.
I mean, I can put on... I don't actually play regular Minecraft. I do Minecraft Dungeons, if anyone plays that.
Oh, my lord.
Hit me up, we can play.
HMU. I'm learning text abbreviations from my students. HMU. Okay, anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week at 8 o'clock on the Love is Being Stupid Together show.
Bye, guys.
Bye.